What's up, everybody? F Rock One hitting you with a quick video. I told you today was the day that I needed to do this walk around, give y'all the updates of the Z. There's been a lot going on and I still have a lot more to go, but I think I'm at a point in having the car that I can make a video and talk about it. And it doesn't matter whether you're a young or older guy like me that's getting into the Z platform. Cost matters, and I want everybody to understand that. So I'm gonna go through the video. I'm gonna talk about all the things that I have done up to this point. I'm gonna talk about some of the areas that I had to do a little bit more than I thought I was gonna have to do. And I'm also just gonna show you, well, I guess I could give you a breakdown somewhat of the cost that you can expect to pay if you really wanna put together a car. There's a big difference in having a car that, you know, you can swing or, you know, do stupid stuff in and it's not reliable, as opposed to putting a car together as a project car and it actually can run without any lights on the dashboard and you can enjoy it. So I'm gonna walk you through. Leave your comments below if you have any questions or you want to add your input. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep the channel growing, man. I think this is a good project. The only thing about it is you got to make sure that your pocket is ready to deal with the types of things that you will in working on this car. Let's go. All right, so first I want to talk about what I got going on in the engine bay. As most of you know from my last video, this is a completely new engine from what it had when I originally bought the car. The car has almost 200,000 miles on the chassis. However, this motor has about 72-ish thousand miles on it. And, you know, for a Z, it's like a real rebirth and getting some enjoyment out of the car if you plan on holding on to it for a while. Even though it has the DE engine, I personally wouldn't get wrapped up around that. Depending on what your power goals are, you know, nowadays everybody wants to have a 900 horsepower street driven car, which is just not realistic to me. So as long as you are taking care of your vehicle, doing your maintenance, which is basically changing the oil every 3,000 miles instead of 5,000 or more, because these engines, compared to today's technology, are kind of old school. So you got to care for these a little bit more than you would a modern engine. So to start off, you know, I got the single turbo. This is a custom RZG kit. The turbo is a Comp oilless 67. That kind of takes off that fear of having problems with your oil pressure or burning up oil based on the needs of the turbo. So I like that about it. I got the Chase Base power steering reservoir. I did the PCV delete. So you see I have the breather filter here and in the rear. I got a little bit of dress up stuff in here. One thing, oh, I forgot about the Z1 hoses. Just put the Z1 coolant hoses in. Got the Z1 radiator cap. One thing that a lot of people do when they turbocharge these DE motors, or should I say what they don't do when they turbocharge these cars, is use heat management. They don't wrap their downpipe. They don't wrap all their exhaust piping. They don't wrap the turbo. And all of that, if you watch that Donut Media video on why their Z blew up, was based on overheating. You know, and overheating just doesn't come from the coolant system. Overheating can affect the cylinders in many different ways. So heat management is very important. Another thing is you got to make sure you're maintaining that oil. If it's super dark, if it's low, change the oil. That's going to prevent you from blowing something up and make the car last a little longer. I also have the UPREV GT MAF. That is going to be very important if you plan on turbocharging the car. Got in new coil packs, new plugs. Yeah, the motor is ready to deal with the power and my driving style, I can tell you that. So walking around to the rear of the car, something else I can tell you that took me a lot of time and money is getting the rear trunk back to looking stock. All of this stuff I had to replace. It was all missing. I replaced all of this stuff down here. Everything is OEM. The only thing down here that doesn't come from factory is this spare, because I took it out my Accord. But all that other stuff is OEM. The trunk by itself probably cost me $500–600 just to get back together. Most Z owners also know that you have problems with the struts. On mine, I went with the Z1 high pressure struts. They're very good, don't get me wrong, but I think I might have gotten a bad batch. You see how hard it is when you close it. But I think I got a bad batch because when I pop it, I got the open top poppers, by the way, so it gets it up really easy. But when I bring it up, it's like painfully hard to get it up, which that could be a good thing. But I noticed that when the weather was a little bit colder, it was really hard to pull up. So just be aware of that. And I'm gonna contact Z1 and just see if that's something that's common, or maybe I just need to go to a lower pressure strut for the trunk. Another area that I focused on for this car was the headlights and tail lights. The original ones, most people know the DE models, they're pretty ugly. So originally I went with some Spec D aftermarket Amazon style headlights. I thought they looked pretty decent, but overall I noticed that they had shorts in them and they also caused hyper flash. So I took them off and just went ahead and bought the headlights I should have, which most of you know are the OEM depot headlights.
Like that.
Getting into the wheels and tires, this is where the car gets tricky, because you got a lot of young guys out there that are caught up on brands, and even some of the older guys they're caught up on brands. I just don't personally get into the brand issue. I do my research on the product. If they're saying that it's a quality wheel, I'm gonna go with it. Bottom line, I don't do stuff because everybody else does it. These are the Oddheim GS2s. I got the 19x11 in the rear and 19x9.5 in the front. For tires, I went with the Yokohama Advent Apex V601. These are 235 40 R19 in the front. In the rear, I have the 275 35 19s. So if I could do it all over again, I probably would have went with a 295 in the rear, just to close up a little bit of that gap. So a lot of people have an issue with how my car sits a little raked. I have the 10 S-type lowering springs. I like the look. I don't plan on getting bags or making the car super low so it's undrivable or unenjoyable. So I think with the 295 in the rear, it'll fill that fender gap up just like it is in the front. And I think everything will be good with that. So I also have a custom exhaust. I got the RZG single exit exhaust. This is all mandrel bent piping. It's custom by RZG. The only thing I did is when I took it to Soho, I had them put in a GESI 400 catalytic converter, because I just don't like the catless cars. And now that I had it tuned and put it on E85 and did over 480 horsepower on this setup, I know that that's really not a limiting factor for what I'm trying to do. I also had to get all of my bushings and stuff done. Those are all white line bushings. I just got the diff bushing done a few weeks ago. So that's definitely a must. If your diff bushing is leaking, you can kind of see where mine was leaking there. One of the best things I like about my suspension, tire, and wheel setup are the brakes. I had to go with a big brake kit, man. Video, pictures just don't do justice of showing how big this setup is. This is a 14-inch rotor, which is actually bigger than the Type R rotor. I got the OEM Nissan Akebono 4-piston brake kit, steel braided lines. I mean, this is just a great quality setup. Like I said, if you plan on shortcuts, you know, I'm not the guy to follow, because I'm not gonna do that. I'm putting together a project car that's gonna be something I can keep for a long time. So the last thing I want to show y'all is what I've done to the interior. I didn't do too much just yet, but some of the areas I touched, the door cards. Most of y'all know I went with the 350z steering wheel. I had to get it repinned to where all the functionality worked so I can still switch through my maps. The horn works, everything works as intended. Airbag, you know, I got all that stuff. I got the steering wheel from Wolfza Carbon, which I heard now they're pretty bad, so I wouldn't recommend going to them. But I got that from them back in like 2022. I got this off of eBay. This setup alone is probably about $900. Yeah, it's that expensive. I went with the Nismo shift knob. I think this one looks good on the Z. I didn't want to use a weighted one because I got mixed reviews on it. Some people say it's good. Some people say it messes up your synchros. So I just wanted to get, you know, what may come on a factory vehicle. And it looks good, man. It matches the carbon steering wheel. I cleaned up the plastic. It looks pretty new. I know a lot of people say the interior looks dated, but I don't think so. I think it looks pretty good. I got the pillar set up for 2 gauges. Right now I'm only using a single AFR gauge. If I find anything else that I think I might need, I might put it here, but I don't think so. The OEM gauges work pretty good for me. I'm getting the voltage I need. I'm getting the oil pressure I need. Yeah, so this one is the main one that I focus on because a lot of these cars I feel are improperly tuned. And you know, if the car is not tuned correctly, it's gonna blow up. I just wanna have an OEM plus looking setup, man. And I'm doing everything I can to make it look good. And I don't plan on selling it, but I think if I did sell it, I wouldn't have an issue getting what I would want out of it. So interior wise, that's all I've pretty much done so far. Just keep it clean. Eventually, I think I may have to replace these right here because there is a tad bit of water getting in when it rains. It kind of puddles up right here. But I replaced this seal right here and it made it a lot better than what it was. Also, car's old, so you're gonna find surface rust. When I get it painted, I'm gonna get all of this stuff addressed. One other thing I wanna mention about the interior is if you're trying to replace pieces like this coin holder, man, you're gonna pay like $100 for it brand new. And even on eBay, if you get a used one, it's gonna cost you about $60, $70, $80 to get this replaced. Just a heads up. So I think I did a pretty good job giving y'all a basic update of where I am. If I missed anything, you can ask me about it in the comments. But overall, would I do this again with this specific car that was old, had a lot of miles on it? After doing a Carfax, finding out that, man, I hate to say this, it's a salvage title vehicle. Finding out through the Carfax that it had 7+ owners, would I do it again?
It's clout, but it ain't money. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I'd be like, nah, it ain't, man, that ain't worth it.
I hate to agree with those guys that always talk about the HR models, but the newer the car is, the less problems you're gonna have with it, theoretically. I'm not saying I would do it specifically for the HR because the DE and HR, in my opinion, are slow without boost. So it's not so much about that, it's just having a car that has not been beat the hell up by the time you get it. With that, FBrock1, y'all, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. I'm out.